Detroit will rise again. That's the message the governor of Michigan wants people to take away from the city's decision to declare bankruptcy. It's the largest American city to do it, and it was a long time coming. But after fruitless efforts to balance the books, city officials say a process is now in place to allow the city to turn itself around. The CBC's Amanda Ferguson joins us live from Windsor, Ontario, just across the river from Detroit. And Amanda, the governor of Michigan, as well as the city's emergency manager, just held a news conference. What did they say?
Well, for Michigan Governor Rick Snyder, he says with $18 billion in debt, when it comes to filing for bankruptcy protection, they simply had no other choice. He says it was getting to the points where residents had valid concerns that if they ever got into trouble and they had to call police, people were seriously asking if the police would ever come, that firefighters were being told to let these buildings burn. And he says now, with them taking the steps of filing for bankruptcy protection, those very critical and important bills can now be paid in an untimely manner. And at one point, Michigan Governor Rick Snyder actually got quite fired up at the press conference because he says, and maybe rightfully so, he's been taking a lot of heat for, A, having to call in an emergency manager, and then B, for having to take the steps of filing for bankruptcy. And here's what he had to say about that anger and why it wasn't there for even before that.
Now is our opportunity to stop 60 years of decline. This is fundamental. Has anyone liked the Detroit of 5 years ago, of 10 years ago, of 15 years ago? How long has this gone on and people had not stopped to say, stop kicking the can down the road and do something? We are doing something. This is the forum, this is the place to do it in.
And then it was Kevin Orr's, the emergency manager's, chance to take questions from the media and explain why he had this financial plan and it had to come to this point. And he said simply that bankruptcy is a tool in their toolbox to be able to allow him to move forward and get his financial plan back on track.
The health, safety, and welfare of 700,000 citizens in the city of Detroit. Yes, there are 9,700 employees and there are 19,700, 20,000 retirees, but there's 700,000 citizens who don't deserve a 55-minute response time, who don't deserve endemic blight and crime, who don't deserve no hope and future and just continued debt over debt and borrowing. So we have to do this in some fashion, and bankruptcy will allow us to achieve that in some way.
But Amanda, what does this mean for pensioners and city employees, people who are worried about their next paycheck?
And rightfully so, Andrew. As you heard in that clip there, the city of Detroit has 9,700 employees and over 20,000 pensioners. And Kevin Orr wanted to reassure that these pensioners, that they would be involved or at least have a voice in this process. They said they'll be going to the court and asking them to set up a retiree committee so they will be able to be kept in the loop as this process continues, and they will have a voice on the topic of their dramatically underfunded pensions.